Spox are a leading UK and now global company providing custom brand kits, whether that is clothing or socks. They are with you every single step of the way by bringing your idea to light. They exclusively work with fitness communities, business communities in the UK and worldwide. To check out everything that they do, head over to www.spox.uk.
A lot of running a business is having really shitty conversations. It was basically just have terrible conversations. You've got to fire someone, someone's quitting, you've got to deal with that. A customer's complaining, you've got to deal with that. And as the business owner, you kind of just have to deal with all of the problems that no one else wants to deal with. If you want to scale a company, if you want to build a company and become like an actual CEO, literally all you're doing is dealing with the problems that no one else can solve.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to Master Your Life Beyond the Boardroom. I'm your podcast host, Luke Beastall, and I don't even know what I don't want to say. It's blooming good guest. I don't know why that comes to my mind. Yeah, what is that? All right, Hayden?
Perfect.
Yeah, no, I don't know why it comes, but it's blooming. Obviously, he's got a business that he's really passionate about called Pink Panda, which I just love that name as well. Very, very creative. I think he practically eats problems for breakfast. He's a problem solver by trade, very creative. He's also got a micro business in garden maintenance, tree surgeon, pulling weeds, you name it. I mean, even his background, if you see, he's got some sort of like plant in the background. So he's always been exposed to greenery, which we met. As you guys know, I love to introduce where we sort of met. We met through a social media platform. This is what I love about social media. And podcasting group, Hayden kind of put it out there that he wanted to be on at least one podcast a month. It's seemed to have blown up. He's had many, many appearances, but he's here to share his story with you guys. I think it's going to be very, very exciting. I'm blessed as well to have a fellow UK guest in on the show as well.
Thanks.
And I'm really, really excited. So Hayden, welcome to our podcast.
Thanks, Luke.
I know I don't know why blooming came in my mind, but it just did. I don't know where that came from.
I love it.
Yeah.
It works.
Ah, good. So just so the audience can understand, a little bit about your background, of sort of what you're up to now, that would be a good place to start. And then obviously we can sort of unravel stuff and talk a little bit about where the business and life's sort of gone. So yeah, let people know a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so what I do, I guess, day to day, so main thing, Pink Panda, as you alluded, and that's a marketing company that's niching down into LinkedIn specifically, purely because I spend all my time on there and I love it and get to do it for other businesses with the team. So with Pink Panda, I've got a couple of employees and then some like freelancers that help us, an investor. And yeah, that all came from my garden company, which the long story short of that is there was about 10 of us in the company. And my biggest flaw was I just sucked at managing people. And a lot of that was because I grew the company in lockdown, which was a roller coaster mentally, emotionally, physically for work. And I'd only just finished puberty. So I was learning how to manage people at early 20s. And so it was just this nightmare. It became a revolving door with staff, which had a lot of benefits, but a lot of weaknesses. And so that garden company now is like a micro business that's got a person that does it's actually my sister. For about 6 years, I asked her to work for me. And then 6 years later, she had this idea of like, oh, what if I took over the round from you? Because when I shrunk it down, I was doing the round, but I hated being on the tools. I'm just obsessed with business and systems and processes. So I wanted to build a company. So yeah, she does the round and I kind of do all the back end systems behind it. And I get to spend all my time on Pink Panda. The garden company is just something that kind of ticks over in the background. I get involved here and there. And that's most of my day to day, and I'm a workaholic, so I spend every waking moment working. My hobby is skateboarding, but I haven't really done that properly for 6 months because I popped my shoulder out. I was filming for a video part, and we had the last few months of filming, so it's like, right, let's get all the bangers, everything we really want to get in the video that we've been putting off because we're too scared to try it. Just like starting to work through that list, and then I'm just at a skate park warming up one day, and I fall back awkwardly, pop my shoulder out, and it's then sat in my armpit. And I spent 6 hours with it like that. And I don't recommend popping your shoulder out. Hurts like hell.
I have popped it out. Yeah. Sorry to interrupt. It was on Ninja Warrior. So I ran up one of those ramps and I grabbed my arm and my arm shoulder just come out. Yeah. So I know what you mean. Yeah.
All the drugs they give you for the pain relief. I mean, I had to wait like 5 hours, but they gave me fentanyl. And oh my God, that just pure euphoria. It's great.
Yeah, I'm gonna say, did you know what day it was, or was you just?
I didn't care what day it was.
Nah,
I was just in the wheelchair, like But the funny thing is, like, I can see why people get addicted to drugs. But honestly, I've had like, I can count how many highs I've had just in life that are way better than that, though.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, I think obviously just for the audience sort of checking in on that, that's amazing what you've just sort of shared, Hayden. I think, would you say earlier on, early on in your business, sort of, obviously you had it in your early 20s, right? You were managing a team of 10. Would you say that you felt a little bit like you was winging it?
Look, I think I've been winging it every day of my life. Like, I'm just very obsessive and get very excited by things, and I think just ultimately want to have fun, and I don't really care if I'm winging it or whatever. Like, I just try and focus on building as much data as I can to understand how to do something better. And there's a lot of things that haven't worked out that I've still got to work out. But I guess I was winging it, but whether I cared or not, I don't think I thought about it. I was just like, a lot of the garden company just felt like fighting fires every day, to be honest. I just was like, where's the extinguishers? I need bigger extinguishers. The fires are getting bigger. So that just felt painful every day, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, you know how you just said, though, the honesty about winging it, right? I mean, I just want to sort of let everyone in on this. I mean, I can safely say that there's been many parts of my business experience winging it. Everybody says they're winging it in some way. So I don't think that should be deemed as like you don't know what you're doing, you know? I think you've got the willingness to try and the willingness to fail, but then you obviously improve from that and you learn from it. But here you are, still as a multiple business owner, even if you say in your early 20s. I mean, how old are you now, Hayden?
29.
Yeah, so 8 years in.
Yeah. God, I've got to be a lot further 8 years in, jeez. But like you say about winging it, but I think that's just like your comfort zone versus outside your comfort zone. And if you're in your comfort zone, you won't feel like you're winging it because it's where you're comfortable. But I just get too uncomfortable being in a comfortable position. So I always want to be going beyond it. So I feel more comfortable being uncomfortable, ironically. And yeah, with that, you just kind of have to wing it because you're just practicing. But just if you find some people that have done what you're trying to achieve and just ask some questions, it'll make life a lot easier.
Yeah, I agree with that. So I can see that you're a team player as well, just from what you've shared there about obviously having a team. Now that you've got obviously a personal branding, but specifies in the LinkedIn market, obviously you said about that you've got a couple employees, you've got obviously a few freelancers and then an investor. Where did that business stem from? How did that go about? Because I know so many people who sort of acquire this funding or whatever it may be, and it can be quite challenging.
Getting the investor was like quite easy.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, Pink Panda was born out of in my garden company. The thing that I loved, I alluded like I sucked at managing people. I'm a lot better at it now. I think the team would vouch I am. I'd like to say, and
we'll ask a few of them.
Yeah. But the thing that I was really good at in my garden company was always the marketing and the branding. We had a very recognizable brand. And I used to get photos all the time on WhatsApp, people being like, oh, I've seen you one of your vans. I've seen one of your vans. And like all over the South, wherever the van would be, I'd get a photo sent to me generally. And the marketing, I just created a really predictable system. I could go buy a van, fill it with tools. I'd have 2 people ready to work for me because I could get people at the door wanting to work for the company and all excited. I was just shit at managing them and I'd alienate them really quickly. But I'd have those 2 people in the van and I could have their calendar full of regulars within like a couple of months just through this very predictable system. And there was a lot of the consistent marketing that we was doing, but then there was the added campaigns that I would bring in sort of quarterly or whatever, just to be like, right, we're ramping up the hiring at this point and then we're going to bring in customers at this point. And a lot of the problems I had in business I overcame through the marketing. Like one example, in the garden industry, people see it as quite a seasonal business,
right?
So they'd say like through the year, like it's dead over winter, gets busy, and then it drops again towards winter. So this is like January, February, March, April, May, June, July, winter again. My cash flow in the garden company, even all through the year, so I overcame that and like through marketing was pulling in business all through winter, summer, spring, autumn, and keeping it steady. And so that became my greatest strength. Therefore, I was like, well, I hate this garden company. The thing I love is all the marketing I'm doing, especially around content. I was always making content. And it was this formula that was just, I seemed to be going to quote all these garden jobs and prospects would often ask the same questions. And I was like, why don't I just answer those questions through video? That video can become little snippets and stuff. It can become an article and posts. Then I'm answering their questions before I arrive. And from that, I was like, what about the less common questions I get? And then from that, I was like, there's actually things where people don't know what to ask me. Let me guide them on more information that'll be more helpful to them. And then also going into what objections do I get? Let me overcome those objections through content. And then that just made it easier and easier to get business. But then not everyone saw the content when I arrived in their garden. So I was like, well, what if I used it in my sales process? So it wasn't just on the website and on socials. It was then part of, before I even arrived in their garden, they were being sent and shown this content through the communications, like email and message, whatever.
Yeah.
It just made it easier and easier. And so when everything kind of fell apart and shrunk down for the garden company, I was doing different things and I got a podcast that I just kind of do like here and there as a little project on the side. And so through that, making all this content, I was like, I just want to talk business with business owners and make this content for them and implement it in their business. Why can't I do that? I was like, well, that'll be what my next company is, and I'll go build that.
Brilliant. I love that. So my question is, so you said the investor was the easiest part. So when you decided that marketing was a skill that you wanted to talk to business owners, what was your feeling? What did you sit there with sort of a business plan? Did you sort of look at it and go, I need investment, or I need somebody sort of backers? Like I just sort of love to know that, because there might be people listening in thinking that, oh, I want to start this business, but I haven't got the resources, or I haven't got, you see what I mean?
Yeah. So I started Pink Panda just kind of like freelancing, where I had this idea. So I do a lot of business networking, and one thing I do and have done for years is BNI. I don't know if you've heard of it.
Oh, I have.
Oh yeah. From that, I'm guessing you don't like it.
No. It's just not my. It's just not. No, it's not that I don't like it. It's just not suited.
Yeah.
To me, for what I do as well. I sort of been to a couple.
Yeah. So I've been in it for like 7 or literally the month I started my garden company, I ended up at BNI and used all the money I had to join. Didn't even have a lawnmower, but joined. But it all came about when I stopped doing the gardening so much and was reducing that company down and just lost all the staff and whatnot. I was in BNI and I changed my membership because I didn't want garden work, but I had this credit because I'd paid for like 2 years membership. So I went in, I just changed my category to an artist because that was my background. I just studied fine art, and I painted portraits at like college and uni. So I just started like painting portraits on the side, and that's what I was at BNI. I was never expecting to get anything from it. Didn't get anything out of it from BNI as a portrait painter. But in that interim where I kind of had this, I guess you could argue I was like semi-retired, because I was going out doing this very profitable garden round part-time and then using all my free time to just go skate and paint. So kind of like living the dream really of just, but I hate it because I want pressure and I want to be building companies. So with that, that's where, as I said, like I'd made all this content in my garden company. It was really useful. It was like one of the biggest assets to get what I wanted in the business: staff, clients, other businesses to work with, build the brand. So I was thinking I want to do that in some capacity. Had this podcast, I was interviewing people and was like, that's all fun. And then I consulted with a business where they just wanted to look at what they wanted to achieve over the next few years. And I ended up sitting down and putting together a business plan for them that was a 40-page presentation. I went into marketing, the sales, finance systems, operational systems, and did that in about 2-3 hours. Just hyper focused, sat there, and just everything just came to me. And I mean, a lot of it is I'm obsessed with systems and processes. So it's like you systemize one business, you kind of do it with others. So the amalgam of all those things, I was like, how can I make a business out of this? And that's where the idea of like, Pink Panda started as just making content. I was like, content was the biggest asset in my garden company. I'm going to show businesses and do it for them and create this framework where I could sit with them. For the slogan originally was like 1 hour, one conversation over a year of content. So we'd record kind of like I'd get them to speak on camera to the camera. Initially, we do it differently now as like a kind of podcast style where we have a conversation with them and there's cameras. But yeah, it started off as that. And then it would just be this recording would be turned into videos, reels, carousels, infographics, blog articles. And for a year and a half, I was just doing these one-off projects. And a common problem occurred. No one would ever use the content. It was so annoying. And it's like people would spend thousands of pounds to have this and just never utilize it. And getting the feedback from people, it was always, haven't got the time to do anything with it, haven't got the know-how. And as that problem occurred, I started to make loads and loads of content, like YouTube videos and would create private playlists. So when I handed over the content, they'd have like 20 videos of like what to do with all the content broken down step by step. They'd get like a presentation after we worked with them, or I worked with them, to be like, here's what you need to do with the content. Like step 1, update your website with all these videos and stuff. And step 2, do this, step 3, do that. And then the third problem was fear of putting themselves out there. We'd put them on camera, which they found terrifying. and got used to it. But then to actually put that online and have people see it became daunting. So I was like, there's the problems. I need to solve those. I also want to turn it into a company and not just something I'm doing as like a freelancer. And with that, I want predictable revenue. I want reoccurring revenue. Because
Sure.
one thing I've done in my garden company, which is part of solving that problem of steady cash flow, is all of our customers pay a fixed monthly fee for their garden maintenance based on an annual plan. Very predictable cash flow, like so nice. And as well, you can just automate so much of the process. So it's like, I want the same thing for Pink Panda. And that's where the whole business model evolved. And that's where I got the impact stuff.
Well, okay, this is good then. That's led on really well. So what I love most about what you've shared there, though, Hayden, is obviously people are familiar with the word freelancing, or I guess being a business owner is that fear of, well, it is the fear of putting yourself out there, but it's the fear of the instability of the actual income flow. So you had managed to fix that problem with your garden business, and now obviously you're fixing that problem for obviously other businesses or even yourself, like you was freelance. I mean, in terms of that, I mean, what helped, like what did you sort of say to these people for them to sort of like reoccur, like, because obviously you're very good conversational. I can see that you know, you've got the sort of gift of the gab, as we'd like to say. I'd just love to know sort of like the problem that most people came up with in the resistance in terms of creating a recurring payment. Because I think that's what a lot of people fear, is that instability with finances going self-employed.
So do you want me to answer that in terms of getting customers and then being fearful of paying every month, or as in, as a self-employed person, the journey to creating recurring payments so that you get predictable cash flow?
Yeah, self-employed to then creating recurring cash flow. Yeah.
I mean, there's a bunch of different ways to do it. One, I have a framework we use in Pink Panda. So when I evolved the business model in Pink Panda to have recurring payments, we was going to be a full marketing service and do not just socials, not just content, but then all of your back end and a lot of automations. And we ended up, there's a bit of a story there about how we ended up losing the 2 customers that was going to start with. And then every prospect was like, see you in 6 months where you are. So we had no revenue. And then that's where we pivoted and niched down into LinkedIn. But the framework of what we build out in Pink Panda and focus on, even just on people's LinkedIn, is I call it a GPCP. So it's gifts, prospect offer, core offer, profit pump. And just layer, I'll go through what they are, but build that layer. It's kind of like a funnel.
Yeah.
And build those in. And that's a great way to structure it and think of it. So gifts is the free information you give away. So that might be things like if you offer a free trial of something, if you have like lead magnets, downloadables, or an ebook or a book, whatever it is, it's just something free. Quizzes, forms, all these things to just help people. It's kind of like a broad way to solve the problem that you help people solve. So just gifts at the top, make them digital so it doesn't really take much of your time. You want to avoid, like, one thing is a lot of business coaches always do like a free business session or something, but that's like an hour of your time that you've got to spend with someone. I mean, because of the lifetime value of the client, it's probably worth it, but it's like if you could avoid spending an hour of your time just to do that deep dive, do free resources instead. So that's gifts. And then prospect offer is like a low ticket offer that is very affordable and it's not going to break the bank in any way. And it's something that's like 5 to 20% the cost of your core thing. And that just gives a way for people to spend a little bit of money just to get an idea of what it's like to work with you before they commit to the core thing. And this is also a good way to get customers without and remove the comparison. So like an example, in a garden company, my suggestion there would be, actually, I'll finish explaining it and then I'll go into an example. So the prospect offer, as I said, small ticket item, then the core offer is the main thing you do. And if you can make the main thing, you can have, like in Pink Panda now, we have kind of 2 core things. One is like an onboard project where we make a load of content, and then that leads on to the next thing, which is then managing someone's LinkedIn as a recurring revenue. So if you can find a way, whatever it is, whether it's like, if you're a consultant, it's then regular calls to check in with someone and help work on something. Or if you're providing a service, it's then making that service recurring. But if you can turn that into a monthly recurring revenue stream, perfect. And I'd always try and make it a fixed monthly fee, because then you can just, like, if you've got Xero, you just set up automated invoices, easy. Or Stripe, you just collect payments every month, easy. Rather than doing regular work and just pricing by the job, avoid that because it's just time consuming. So that's your core. And then the last one, my favorite one, is your profit pump. These are all your upsells and cross sells that you can layer on top that just complement, because the easiest people to sell to are those that have bought from you. And if you're doing something to help someone, well, if you've got other ideas, to help them, then it's just, they're going to jump on it. Not everyone, but a lot more people will jump on it. It'll be easier to sell your profit pump than your prospect offer, because this is a brand new relationship. These are existing clients you've been working. So as an example, use a garden maintenance company, not that I'm biased, but like the gifts would be something like, we've just done a couple months ago, we did a flyer campaign, and it was like, is your garden ready for the spring? Take our quiz to find out. And it's like a quiz where you just answer a few questions and it gives you a score on how ready your garden is for the spring and what things you need to do. And by getting your score, you can then get a top 10 checklist of what your garden needs to do to be ready for the spring. And so that's all like free information. And then there could be things like plant guides, or the 10 best plants for summer in this type of garden with this type of soil. And so a lot of that can be blogs, free guides, quizzes, that sort of thing. So garden company, that's what we do. So like on the website, there's a lot of articles. And then we also have free guides we build out where we can use them on socials, capture people's data, like an email address, and then they get access to the free guide. We use those in Pink Panda a lot. So that's like a gift. And then as a garden company, a prospect offer, like as a gardener, you want to get them on a regular maintenance job, like get them there, the lifetime value, huge. So to put in a prospect offer, because most gardeners would just quote to, oh, we'll show up and we'll do an hourly rate to come and do your garden, or a day rate. Avoid all of that. What we'd implement is your prospect offer is, once someone's got like your gift, you could then offer, would you like a one-on-one consultation in your garden to get year-round colour, to work out what plants will bloom in your soil type and in your garden type, and what else did we? Something else about, it was basically all around how to get the best out of your garden, and the idea
year-round.
Yeah, exactly. And how to get year-round colour and what plants will bloom in your garden. So, and then, and that was it. And an annual plan on what needs to be done on your garden and when, month by month. So then that will be £100, £99, £150, whatever you price it at. So then you go around and give this one-on-one consultation. Well, by this point, they may or may not even be thinking of having a gardener. Some people would, and might be thinking, that'd be quite nice actually to get it all worked out before we get a gardener. So you go around and give that one-on-one consultation. You can then create a template form that then becomes their digital PDF of like what they need to do, and you fill it all out. Well, that's all very predictable. Gardens are like, yes, there's variance, but generally you got to mow the lawn this frequently. You've got all of these plants that most people have, and you can create quite a predictable system for it. And you produce this report for them on, here's how to get your own colour. Here's the month by month report on what to do in your garden. Here's the plants that are going to thrive in your soil type. And you can then say, look, that's what you need to go and do. You can go and do it. If you'd like us to do it, it would be this much a month, and we keep it to that annual plan. And then if you want help with the planting and such, we can supply all of that. So then at that point, if they're thinking of getting a gardener, it's like, you've been so helpful, guided them on overcoming so many of their questions and problems. Would they even bother? And if they are going to bother getting another quote in, you just go, no problem at all. Here is our checklist on all of the green flags to try and make sure they tick off, and all the red flags to avoid in a gardener. It's the checklist. It's a PDF. I'll send it over to you. We've also got a video explaining that. And so you've just given them even more value, so they can go out, get quotes from other gardeners and just compare. Well, I've got to make sure to ask this question and this question to see how they answer it and to work out if they're an expert or not. By that point, it's like, I used to use that guide in my garden company when I was scaling it. The amount of people that would be like, I can't be bothered. Like, you've literally given me everything. Like, clearly you know what you're doing. Just do the garden. And so get them on the core offer, and then the profit pump is just things like adding in more plants, or if you can do lawn treatments, or if you can do tree surgery and adding that in. So that's an example as a garden company, but whatever you're starting with freelancing, try and think of it as GPCP.
Yeah, I really like that. Thank you for sharing that, Hayden, because I think obviously we'll sort of dissect in a way just at the back end of this, because I think obviously a lot of people will feel, well, they're going to feel quite overwhelmed, obviously. Oh my God, that's a lot. But that is very clever, because I think the way you systemize that, because let's talk about a system and process sort of thing. I love the fact that you've expanded the customer's level of thinking into an annual plan, or to a more of a long-term thing, because then it keeps them in, but also it allows you to deliver a more impactful result. It allows you to show them that, look, this is what's possible. Because a garden is an all-year-round thing, really, if you want to keep it looking well. Because obviously, whatever sort of goes on in the autumn, winter time gets it ready for the summer. It's sort of the thing I used to say with fitness and well-being. I know people say your body's made in the winter. I mean, it depends on what you want to do with it. But yes, a lot of it can be.
And it's also one of those things, you can use it to overcome the seasonal, what would you call it, like seasonal flakiness. So like the amount of people that if they've got a gym membership or using a PT and will just bin it when it's coming towards
Yeah.
Christmas, because they're too busy to get ready for Christmas. Then it's Christmas, I'm going to forget fitness anyway, and then they start up again in January. Or summer holidays, where it's like, oh, I'm going to forget it because it's a summer holiday. And that's the same thing with like cleaning. If like the amount of people that will cancel their cleaner at certain times of year.
Yes. Yeah.
Same with gardeners, like gardeners that are charging like by the hour, by the day. The amount of times that the customer will just be like, oh yeah, don't worry, we'll see you next year, we're not going to bother you over the winter, or if you can just come in like half as much as you are. Whereas you can, one is just target your ideal customer. So in the gardening, we target people with larger gardens rather than like if someone's got a shoebox and it's a patch of grass, like once you stop mowing it, that's kind of all you can do until you do see it next year. But someone that's got a larger garden, there's going to be all kinds of things, like leaves are going to be dropping all over the lawn across winter. Got to get those clear. Fruit tree pruning in January, blah, 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 blah. But if you put it into an annual plan, one, you're just like solving all their problems for them. And it's because no one wants a gardener. No one wants a cleaner. No one wants a PT. They just want to have a nice garden, have a clean house, look good.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Sell that instead.
So becoming a dad back in 2023 has definitely been challenging at times. Being on this entrepreneur journey, having multiple businesses, it can be tough, but it doesn't have to be. One way to kick off your personal development journey is nestled in the heart of Montenegro. Syro Boca Place offers more than just a lifestyle experience. It is the ultimate active lifestyle hotel. Whether you're looking to rejuvenate in this state-of-the-art recovery lab, take a dip in the 25-meter half Olympic pool with a retractable roof, or explore the stunning trails of Boca Bay, there is something for everyone. And if you're like me, who wants to stay active and experience what is on offer, so if you're looking to elevate your travel experience and feel better than when you arrived, to get in on the experience, head over to www.syrohotels.com.
If that's an annual plan and it's a fixed monthly fee, like the amount of things in my garden company, the problems that were solved by introducing that, so much easier. But if you're a freelancer thinking this is overwhelming, or you want to kind of escape the role of having a job to go over freelancer, one thing is it's very peaceful having a job compared to being a freelancer or owning a company. But I'd just start with the G. Just start gifting people. Gift as many people as you can. Go and do free work in exchange for, like, set up a Google business profile, set up a LinkedIn account, whatever, and just be like, look, I'll do this for free. You've just got to give me a review on this, a review on that, a testimonial on this. And that way you're building your clout. And if you can just do loads of free work, and also you'll learn so much from it. The amount of times when I've skipped that and then just jumped into a paid thing and been like, I wish I knew that before. And if you do a lot of free work up front, you learn a lot of those mistakes that you can avoid.
I like that. So that's the first step. I was just going to even ask you, like, what if you was to sort of start from ground zero on another business, what would you say? I mean, that's a great piece for anybody sort of passionate about starting their dream business. Obviously, yeah, stay comfortable and be sort of content with you've got your employed role. But if, like I say, setting up a new profile, clean slate, reaching out to people, offering free work in exchange for a testimonial or feedback, you're going to learn and develop along the way, and then your work will improve, and people will actually, if you document that and share that, people will see that your work's improving. Yeah,
massively. And so, yeah, if you are like in an employed role and want to start a business, whatever it is, one thing I try and do something different to what you're employed for, which kind of sounds weird. A lot of people work in an industry for ages, but I can do this better than my boss, whatever. No, you'll just start your business and realize how hard it is. And another common thing I hear all the time is people being like, boss sits around making all the money, I'm going to go out and do it on my own and make the money instead of them getting it off me. I'm like, no, they actually have one of the most stressful times. And one example, I spoke to someone they started up as a tree surgeon, and they said the same thing. They was working for a tree surgery company. Boss used to sit at home, have an easy life and make money off of all the guys going out on the tools. No, that boss had the most stressful time. They were responsible for everything. And that's a long list. And you realize that when you start out. But another reason to do something different to what you're employed for is if you work for, I don't know, a gym, and I'm going to use a different example. If you work for a HR company and you're a HR consultant within a business and you're employed, if you go off and start on your own, your employers, there's obviously going to be an awkward thing of you going off and starting up on your own and starting this business and competing, and there's going to be conflicts and contracts and all that kind of thing when you leave your job. Whereas if you're employed as that HR consultant and you've got something that you can really solve a problem for people and a passion, you might want to go and start a garden business as an example. Well, if you do that, your employer is going to be way more willing to have a conversation with you and be like, how can we help you? You want to go and start this garden business? Amazing. Let's look at what's like, because this is something I say to my team, is if you do want to go start your own business, just come to me and tell me, and we can put something in place. Like, let's put a 2-year plan in place where right now you're working full time and this is what you're doing. This is the business you want to have. Well, let's look at how over the next 2 years together, we can help you build it so that you can gradually go from 5 days to 4 days to 3 days, and then you can leave and do your own thing. And you've got that safety cushion. And I say that to the guys. So then it also helps, like as an employer, helps me forward plan. So then they don't just quit.
Yeah,
And
no, yeah.
so, and as an employee, you're going to get more support from your employer rather than being like, I'm going to go start and compete with you because I think you're shit and I can do a better job.
Yeah, so what you said there is amazing, because it's still very open conversation. It's sort of, supportive. But the thing is, it's sort of like, what do you think the reason is that people, or even like if you've had this experience yourself or people that you know, that they don't have that conversation? Maybe they're fearing that they're going to lose their job if they were to speak to their boss about, by the way, I've got this passion project that I'm looking to build up to eventually become my business. Because I think that's what it is, isn't it? It's sort of walking into that office and letting them know that they want to do something else because they might get rid of them.
There's a lot of reasons people fear it. It's kind of, you're kind of breaking up with your boss, isn't it? Like,
Yeah.
like saying to your partner, this isn't working out and I'm looking at other options.
Yeah.
That's basically what it is. And there's the fear that people might just mock you and ridicule you because it's like, oh, look, he's going to go start the next venture. Oh, he thinks he's Elon Musk starting a business.
Yeah.
And people will just kind of assume you're going to, I don't know, like the human brain is just negative, has a negative bias by default, just it's in our biology. So people are going to react in that way. But also there'll be a lot of people that will react in that way because of like this innate fear in them, or this like FOMO where it's like, damn, they got the balls to go and do that. I wish I had that. So their way of reacting is like, let's knock them down. It's a bit like if you put a bunch of crabs in a bucket and one of them tries to escape, all the other crabs will pull them back down because it's like,
I've heard this.
You wanted the herd,
yeah,
and comply, and that's kind of how people react. But honestly, like, I mean, to be honest, if you can't just go and have a conversation with your boss and be like, here's an idea I'm thinking of exploring, any tips and advice, if you can't go and have that conversation, do not start a business, because a lot of running a business is having really shitty conversations. Like when I was running my garden company with a team of people, it was basically just have terrible conversations. Like, you've got to fire someone's quitting, you've got to deal with that. A customer's complaining, you've got to deal with that. And as the business owner, you kind of just have to deal with all of the problems that no one else wants to deal with. And if you want to scale a company, I say this as someone that hasn't scaled to teams of tens of people, but from my understanding and research and looking ahead of what I want to do, if you want to build a company and become like an actual CEO, literally all you're doing is dealing with the problems that no one else can solve.
Yeah. No, that's it's really great to hear your perspective on this, because I think a lot of people relate. I can relate to it, and I think I've heard these conversations kind of go on in the background quite a lot, especially about that fear of having that conversation. But even like what you just said there, trying to start a business when you can't have that open conversation with your bosses, just don't start it just yet. Like, just like sort of, I don't know. It's a tough one, because I think a lot of people, because even people listening to this episode today will probably be on the mindset already, but there's that negative feeling coming in that I really want to leave my job, but I'm scared it's not going to work out. I'm scared it's not going to happen. What would you, because obviously you've got a lot of confidence, obviously you've built team, obviously I know there's been failures and stuff, and we'll probably even go into that realm of what's sort of gone on in your business career, but what would you say to them to sort of switch that negative in their mind?
Actually, I've got a statistic I remind myself of every single day that I live by, and it's part of, in my recruitment process, I tell every single person that applies for the job, like, as when they get to a point where I interview them, I give them the statistic. It's one of the guiding principles in Pink Panda, and it's your odds of existence. Somewhere someone decided to try and work out the math. I don't even care if it's true or not, but I live by it every day. The calculated odds of you existing as the individual you are is 1 in 400 trillion.
Saw this, yeah, on your form, yeah.
I think Gary Vee shouts about it a lot, and it's like, if the odds of existence are so low, like, And when you think about it, the exact sperm cell, the exact egg that created you, it had to be the exact cells, an egg that made you had to be those. And how many eggs and cells are there? But not only that, for your parents, the male, the female that made you, same thing. And for the same, and like when you start to go up generations, you realize how many humans it takes to make you. And it gets to a point you realize the entirety of human history had to happen in the exact way it did. The tiniest fluctuation in any part of human history, you wouldn't exist. And so it's like, I remind myself that every day, and it's just like any crazy idea I've got or anything that's difficult, it's like, oh, bollocks to that, I already exist. Like I've won the lottery of life. Like you're more likely to win the lottery, go buy a ticket and win again than you are to exist. So
that's mad. Yeah, that's mad. So when did you hear that, or when did you? Yeah, how long ago was that?
I don't know, a couple of years ago. I can't remember.
Was
I
it?
just started living like that anyway. It's just nice to have a statistic to back it up.
Yeah. So before you was just like, if I've got an idea, if I've got something, I'm just going to go for it.
I'm just a stubborn bastard. I was just like, if I wanted, like, since, like, I talked myself out of my first detention in primary school as like a little kid, like this, and the teacher gave me detention. I was like, you're wrong. Let me explain why, and won the argument. So I've just been stubborn since I was like an embryo.
Yeah. So you've always been good at, I guess. Well, obviously you're good at sales, you're good at conversations.
I never consider myself good at sales, but I guess I am. But I just consider myself a bit lacking in sales. But I think I'm just very good at getting in. It's weird. Like in some parts, I feel like I'm not empathetic, but then I am. But I think I'm just very good at getting in the mind of someone and understanding what they want from me in order for me to get what I want, kind of thing. Like I've applied it to dating, applied it to business, applied it to find an investor, and I just know how to get in people's heads.
But yeah, it's not weird. But that is you being good at sales, though.
I suppose, yeah. I was on a dating radio show explaining why guys are shit at dating, and went through my whole like psychological framework of how to attract like the ideal partner you want. And yeah, it's very much the same as like finding customers in your business. Similar process. It's weird.
So if you was to like make it very sort of potent when it comes to getting in someone's head or attracting somebody into your new business, what would be the number one thing that you would action to start moving towards that?
I mean, yeah, using the example as we have of someone that's like in a role and wants to start, that's where it just comes to that gifting thing, because there's just no risk. So make it all around. Like a good conversational framework I have is understand the goal that people want to achieve, go into the problem that they're having, get in there, and obviously if it can relate to something that you can solve. So if you want to start a HR company, then just have conversations with people about the business and how they want to grow it and where they want to scale to, and then talk to them about people. And it's like, oh, what's your problem with people then? Oh, you find recruitment pretty hard, and you find the interview process, and it's like, oh, and dealing with like people that aren't performing as well. Okay, what's the problem? And just go into the problem, and then just be like, would you like some ideas on how to overcome that? And in that conversation, they just start to associate you with the solution. And then once they kind of see that you're part of the solution, it's like, oh, would you like to like talk more about that? And if you're like starting out, just start gifting people. So it's like, oh, I'll tell you what, it's something I know quite well and I want to start a business on it. How about I do a free contract for you, or I do a deep dive checklist on your onboard process to see where the gaps are and improve it for you. All I really want from it is testimonial, reviews. And if you're happy to do that, we can put together some agreement. Or but just frame it around that. Like if you want to start a garden business, just talk to people about their gardens and what they want from their garden. When they wake up on Saturday morning, they open the door and it's like, oh, beautiful. What does that look like to them? And what's the problem that's currently preventing that? And it's like, oh, have you tried this fertilizer? Have you tried this? Have you tried that? Have you tried doing this with your lawn? Would you like some more ideas? Look, I can pop round, we'll have a cup of tea and I'll give you a walk around your garden. How about this? I'll do you a free audit on your garden and just give you a list of things you need to do to improve it. Do it completely free. All I want is some feedback on this. I mean, if you do that as a gardener, it's going to be a really easy way to get gardeners, get clients, sorry. But hopefully that's a couple of examples that kind of how just what's the vision they're trying to achieve, what's the problems they're experiencing, give them some ideas on how to get to this vision and get rid of these problems, and then turn that into something that you can deliver. And you might not even have to do free stuff. People might just be like, how much is that?
Yeah, straight in.
And then if they object and say, oh, like, for example, if you have a conversation, let's go back to the HR. Like, if if you go, what's the vision you want to achieve? What's the problems you're occurring? Would you like some ideas on that? Oh my God, there's some great ideas. How much would you charge to do all of this? £1,000. I'm not sure about that. We'll have the budget one day. Oh, how about I do this bit for free for you, just to give you an idea. And I just want to make sure you're safe, because actually what you're doing in HR, you're actually breaking the law by not doing this and you're not compliant. Let me do that one thing for you. And look, after that, if you need more help, you know where I am. Like, you've tried to get £1,000 deal, it didn't work out. You do a bit of work for free, you do it for a testimonial. They'll probably just be like, that the rest of the stuff, how much is that? Oh, it's however much. Yeah, let's do it. Because you've done something for free for them. Because the main thing is, when you start up, you haven't got any, and I've really suffered like with this, is you haven't got any case studies. Like when I started Pink Panda and had the business model of like, reoccurring revenue stream, get an office, get an investor, get a team, came up with a business model based on like, what's everything I did in the garden company to automate the sales process and make it better. Let's do that for businesses. People would love it. But everyone's question was like, where's your case studies? Well, this is what I did in my garden company. No. Where's your case studies? Who have you done this for? What results did you get? I haven't done it yet. No one cares. So that's where people want to see the results you can get. So the best way to do that is go to do stuff for free. And if you're employed, you've got a salary coming in every month. And I've never bloody had that safety net. And if you've got it, go get some free examples and get the results for people. It'll make it so much easier to get customers.
Yeah, I think that's great. Like doing the work now. So like sort of allocating the time just so that, yeah, you've still got that security safety net and you're sort of moving closer and closer towards building a business. Because like you say, you've got the case studies, you've got the feedback. But I think the way you sort of say stuff, Hayden, is really digestible, I think. So it's a really good word to use. I think that's probably why, like I say, you get into people's heads. Because it's not overcomplicating business, really. I mean, just from sort of your own personal business journey, what have you found has been sort of your pump, your profit pump, or your success or your secret to success? What's that been for you, would you say, if you reflect?
Secret to success. My first answer is I'll let you know when I've considered myself successful. My other answer is just going back to that statistic of like the secret to success is just reminding yourself of that 1 in 400 trillion statistic every day, because it's just whatever you're trying to achieve. Like the amount of things that I come up with and people are like, that's a ridiculous idea, you're never going to be able to do. I mean, if you want me to do something, just tell me I can't do something. The amount of times in skating, we'd be walking around and I'd find a hammer and I'm like, oh, I want to skate this. And people are like, dude, you're not hitting that. Like, no way. And I'm like, let's go, get the camera out. But I think, just as I say, reminding myself of that statistic every day is just like, that's going to lead me towards what I want to do. And I mean, like the world that we live on is like billions of years old. Like we're around for a blink, for a click, like, and then we become dust and we're back on the earth. So we're literally just a solidified ball of atoms, and we're living this life, and we just kind of make up what it is in our minds. So just have fun, and like whatever you want to achieve, remind yourself of your statistic every day. It also depends on what you consider success. Like there's a lot of things in my life where I'm like I live every day ashamed of what I've done. And like when you said about I've like 8 years in business, I'm like, geez, like I really need to do more and like be better. But there's a lot that people like mention to me of the life I get to live. They're like, holy shit, you've like solved things. And it's like, I do what I want every day. Like I literally wake up and do what I want every day. And I can just move things around. Like with my girlfriend, if something comes up, it's like, oh, let's go do this for the day. I'm like, okay, cool. I'll just move the calendar around. Like, but then I'm a workaholic, so I work all weekend and stuff. But it never feels like, I just feel like I'm doing what I want every day. And there's like material things, like I drive my dream car, which to be fair is the cheapest car to own. So I don't really want much material things. So, but then I'm like, I live at home with my mum and my sister, and I'm like, well, that's like, I'm almost 30 and I'm living at home. That sucks. But then some of that is an element of choice of like, I always put my money into other things and
yeah.
financial mistakes. But it depends what your definition of success is as well. There's elements of my life where I'm like, I guess it's pretty successful. There's elements. I think a lot of people, to be honest, that I speak to, and I'd say people that look at me and go, damn, that success is just my ability to just get up and do what I want and go for the thing that I want. And I don't know if that's stupidity or if that's some kind of wisdom, but it's just like, well, I want it, I'm going to go. Like, one thing is just, I'll try and find like, who do I need to speak to in order to get it? Or I'll just pick up the phone and talk to them. Or cold sales calls, not quite the same thing. But one example is in BNI and networking. We did a thing, they do a couple conferences a year in like the region. So in Kent, where I am, we did a conference and I said to them, let us come and do a video for you. I'll interview like a bunch of members about what they've got out of being in BNI and stuff, and we'll turn that into a great video for you. and just kind of edit it and turn it into something, make some reels for you. And with that, I was like, oh, I want to do something cool here. And I had an idea, but I spoke to the people that run Kent, and they were like, it's not really our decision to make. Like, I made the video and everything. And I was like, here's my idea. And they were like, it'd be a national decision, not us. And they'd shown the video to the guy that runs it nationally, Mike Holman. And I was like, all right. So I just grabbed my phone and was like, hi, Mike, nice to meet you. We've done this video. And like, to me, it was just no brainer. Like, the person that can make the decision is Mike. I'll just pick up the phone and talk to Mike. And then I was talking to someone else like a week later or whatever about it. And they're like, what? You just rung Mike, like the guy that runs? And I was like, yeah. Oh, I guess is that not normal? Apparently not. So, as I say, is that stupidity or is that wisdom? I don't know.
A good mix of both. But I think, to be honest, just hearing you talk about that, I think, look, obviously you're a very down-to-earth kind of guy. You know, it's not even about success metrically or materialistic wise. I think what success means to you, from what I'm hearing, and what your secret to success is waking up and doing exactly what you love doing.
No, there is a lot. Like, I want to gain a lot of financial success. Like, I don't know if I want to be a billionaire. I want to be a centimillionaire. I want to be worth hundreds of millions. And it's more that there's a lot of ego attached to that, of like I want to see problem solved for humanity, but then I'm like, it'd be nice if I was the one to solve it, you know? That's pretty cool. And also there's just, I think I had a lot of money insecurities as a child. And so I'm like, I need to be a multimillionaire. Like, for some reason that will be impressive. And I want people to be impressed by what I've done. A lot of therapy taught me like why that is. And on a side note, definitely recommend therapy to every single person. And I want to have a lot of financial success, but then when I started in business when I was 21, I wanted to make millions so I could wake up, go into my walk-in wardrobe, pick out my Savile Row suit that I'm going to wear for the day, walk down into my garage and be like, the Rolls, the Bentley, the Aston, which one do I take to the office? And then, as I say, loads of therapy taught me why I had those feelings and why I wanted that. And I realized what it all came from, and then realized what I actually want money for. And now I want to make like hundreds of millions so then I can put it into the problems that I am frustrated by in life, that I'm like, that's a problem, that's annoying, I want to fix it, but the only way I see it being fixed is if someone that had 100 million decided to put their entire fortune into it. And now I'm like, I've got my dream car, it's cheap to run, I literally wear the same thing every bloody day. I've got I normally have a Pink Panda t-shirt, but I've got free, and I just have a bunch of black t-shirts, black trousers. Like, my material life is like, I don't really want anything. And like, even my dream home seems, I guess on the surface, is like, the dream home is quite glamorous, but it's because I want to prototype a lot of what I want to do on a larger scale for humans. I want to prototype in my own property and test it in like how you can grow your own like produce and be self-sustaining and that kind of thing, and then scale it up for other people. So there's a lot there that I've even forgotten what your question was, but something around success and
So obviously you sort of went off on a bit of a tangent, but a really good one, because it's sort of, I think, just going into, I'd love to ask you what made you go to therapy? Because obviously it seems like that was quite a learning experience mentally.
What made me go to therapy? I think I've always, I don't know. I had it when I was a kid, when my dad left. I went into like therapy and stuff then, and that was more of just like, go on, you're being a little shit, go talk to someone about it. And obviously I didn't choose to do that, and I didn't really think about what was going on there. But in my adult life, I decided, and it was, I'd always had like mentors around me, I guess. I had a business coach before I paid. It was like, I say therapy, it was like therapy mixed with just like personal coaching, I guess, like mindset coaching as well as therapy, combination. And I'd had a business coach for a long time and done all kinds of training courses and stuff just to learn how to build a business, and still learning. And I did more of the therapy stuff, personal development, when things with the garden company were going down and like shrunk down. So while I was scaling that, it was all business coach every week. What can we do better? And when I had all of the time freedom and was just gardening part-time and working out what to do next, that's when I spent money on a lot of therapy. And part of it was like, my girlfriend at the time was working with her through the company she worked for. They were sending a bunch of the like associate directors to have this personal development therapy stuff. And I just ended up working with the same woman. And yeah, we worked, like, I was a client of hers and dived into it. It was just really interesting and good way to learn a lot about yourself, your motivations and your insecurities. I was like making YouTube content at the time, terribly, and just made videos about like, I spent £1,000 on therapy. Here's what I learned. It was just, I think it's really interesting to learn about yourself and go into your mind and like why your mind is the way it is and why you're insecure about things you're insecure about. It also helps you understand other humans better. Like where I say I'm good at getting in people's heads, believe I can give myself that label. A lot of it came from getting in my own head and working out what's going on in there. Helps me understand with other people, plus reading a lot of books.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
kind of why I got into it.
Yeah, because obviously you just spoken about that you sort of had that view on being this centimillionaire, or you say centimillionaire, yeah. So it's sort of like what you sort of wanted with that. You know, do I want this Aston Martin, Bentley, Rolls Royce sort of thing walking into garage? But then that soon changed via the therapy route.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to sort of I just wanted to dig a little bit on this because I'm sure. I mean, I've had a few therapy sessions myself, and I know people would have had it. What did you learn from that experience to shift that?
I mean, specifically, a lot of it was my dad left when I was a kid, and he was a financial provider of the house.
Right.
So when he left, we suddenly went from being very comfortable financially to then being very uncomfortable financially. To humanity, I grew up in like the top 25% wealthiest humans on earth purely because I'm born in England, so I can't complain too much. But in terms of like seeing what my life was like at 7 years old, suddenly it was like no money, and it was like all the furniture in the house was like hand me down. So like when the sofa fell apart, we was like gifted one from someone else that was throwing theirs out, holes in the carpet kind of thing. But that gave me a lot of insecurities financially. So I started making my own money when I was like 9, and then my aunt told me about when I was like 8 years old. I went to her and I don't even know how I had I don't think I got pocket money, but I somehow had like 20 quid and said to my aunt like, oh, is this going to help mum with the mortgage? So as like an 8-year-old, I was so acutely aware of like financial challenges and like how stressed my mum was. So I guess there's empathy there, and acute empathy. And so I went to my aunt with this, and she was like, don't worry, hold on to that. You don't need, because I somehow thought 20 quid would be helpful for the mortgage.
Yeah.
So I grew up with a lot of money insecurities, and that manifested as like despising money. So from a young age into being like 20, I deliberately wanted to avoid money and be like, no, I'm going to find a way to live without the constraints. I'm never going to have a job. I'm going to do what I love. Because my dad was very much like, what are you going to do for money? What are you going to do for money? What are you going to do for money? And it just made me like detest the idea of doing anything for money. And I'm like, I'm going to life hack my way through everything. And I don't want anything. Like I'm going to be an artist. I'm going to paint pictures, and I'm going to somehow have a way that I live, that I make money to live my life enough that I can eat well, do the things I want to do. And then I discovered business at 21 by falling into it with my garden business, and then became obsessed of like, I'm going to be a multimillionaire. And then I became a pretentious prick and was buying like expensive clothes. And then, God, I was like a knob, and I'd buy expensive clothes. And I remember like being like not wanting to sit on outside benches, because realistically I'd bought like a pair of trousers I couldn't afford, and I had this jumper that I couldn't afford. I've always been frugal though, so it'd be like I'd budget. I just remember like one year budgeting 1,500 quid for my car insurance, and I got it for like substantially less. So I went and bought a pair of trousers for 140 quid because I thought that was clever, and I wanted these fancy trousers. And but yeah, realistically I couldn't afford them. And the weird thing is I always want minimal, so like I bought these expensive clothes with no logos on them, and that's where I started having, I guess, the worst money insecurities. And that's where the whole, I'm going to have a Rolls Royce, a Bentley and Aston, I'm going to have a Savile suit every day of the week and blah, blah, blah. And everyone's going to know I'm rich, and I had to be rich because I'd grown up without money. Like I'd seen people that had money, and then people's reaction to people with money was always like, oh my God, how impressive, they've got this money. I was like, that's going to be me. And then I realized it was more about providing and wanting to make sure through the therapy, like learn, it was more about I wanted to make sure people were looked after. So then realized I wanted to solve it for my mum, and like where I'd grown up with that, I was like, I want to make sure no one grows up with that. And the struggles that we had, it's like, how can I solve that for humanity rather than just being rich and having nice things?
Yeah, so that's that story though there makes a lot of sense, and thank you for sharing that as well. A nice sort of, I guess, a little bit there, reflection that sort of has helped you through where you are in life today as well. Obviously, you're very humble. I think we go through these cycles or parts of our life, you know, where we sort of have these dreams and aspirations. I mean, I know myself, I was very much into the bougie lifestyle and stuff like that. Obviously, now we've got a mortgage, you know, we've got a little a little one running around, and your priorities do sort of shift. So for you now, then, just as a point of like businesses, obviously, it's in a massive growth phase. It's going really. What's been sort of just being a business owner? What's something that you don't like, or what's something that's been a failure that you sort of go, yeah, that really happened and times got really tough?
When's the time when things got tough?
Every day.
Literally a couple months ago, I was like, Pink Panda was about to die.
Right.
Like, it still might do. Like, it's still like it's yeah. So what, in like February, March time? Because my birthday's the end of March as well, and like my birthday, I was literally like, I don't want it to happen. Like, I'm not celebrating anything. Like, I still haven't really hung out with my mates. Like, it's all through skating. Like, I still haven't hung out with my mates properly this year because I'm just like, how do I describe it? Like laying on a bed of nails, chewing glass while having fire thrown at me, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And like the company was on the brink of like dying and had to fix it. So that's the most recent example, and we're like just about getting over it. Like, this is the first month where company revenue will pay the salaries for the team rather than investor money. So
Well done.
Thank you. If we keep going that way, I might have a salary one day from it. And what else? I don't know. I've got like, when you have that form to fill out, like that story I gave of the guy that walked in and like quit all of a sudden,
Yeah.
the garden company, that was just like peak painful time. It's something like, as a business owner, you have to kind of have like a, I guess, like a fetish for pain. You've got to want to suffer. Like, I enjoy suffering, I enjoy pain. It's a bit weird, but the whole thing of, as I say, like, I like being uncomfortable. And
Yeah, that is true.
it's just, I kind of thrive on it. So I think if you're going to want to build a business, there's a difference between being a freelancer and being a business owner. And like, if you're going to build a business and have people that you're responsible for, just involves constant pain, and you got to want that, and you got to enjoy it.
I think that's a good. I think that's definitely a good way for people to hear that and understand it, because, yeah, it's choose your pain, isn't it? It's sort of like people say pain of regret or pain of discipline. You know, what one's going to weigh heavier in your life? Which one do you want to sort of go for? So obviously, appreciate you sharing that about the business, because I think it's important as well. I mean, I know myself as well. Business has been on its arse, sort of thing. I think there's going to be peaks and flows of that. It's a roller coaster ride, all that stuff. So just to sort of summarize it, because we are getting towards the end of this episode. I mean, it's flew by. I think there's so many different aspects we could have gone into, but I think we've definitely spoken really strongly about, what can you do to sort of start building a business, which I think is really, really good. I want to ask you this question, Hayden, because I ask every single guest this same question, but I'd love to hear sort of your views on this. What does mastering your life mean to you?
Working out what you want to do, I guess. Like, I feel like I'm nearly there. I feel like once I've built businesses and bought companies and got a group of companies that are doing phenomenally well, I'll be like, yeah, I've mastered life. I feel like I'm there. I feel like I've mastered elements of it. But I think if you get to wake up every day and do what you love and enjoy it, and like, people can tell you, how would I phrase it? People can tell you what you're doing is wrong and shit, and like, you could have any critique, but if you don't care and you are like, well, no, I'm still determined to do what I want to do, and getting critical feedback or being moaned at and shouted at, it's like, you're only going to help me learn how to do it better. I think if you get to that point, I guess you've mastered it pretty well. Like, I enjoy critical feedback. I think I say I do because I want to. There's still times when I like want to cry from it, but being moaned at, feeling like a failure is kind of helpful, because I'm like, well, I'm going to learn as much as I possibly can here about how to do it better.
Yeah.
Happy customer that pays your invoice on time is good, but it's not going to teach you a lot. Whereas the customer that wants to take you to court, and also I recommend, like, a bizarre thing I think is, I recommend every business owner go to court. You learn a lot. It's really good. Like, nothing teaches you how to do proper due diligence and how to have proper procedures in place like going to court and having to fight your case. Best way to learn.
Have you done that then?
Yeah, multiple times. I've got 100% success rate at court.
You got a conversation, but what was one of the reasons, though? If you don't mind, sorry to interrupt.
No. First one was, did a garden job, and this was like sus from the beginning. There was something well dodgy about it, but they claimed that we didn't do anything. So we ended up this is back when I had a day rate. Like, this was my first year of business. In my first year of business, I wanted a 5-figure contract. Now that one. And in my first year of business, I went to court. So it was over like 185 quid, and they claimed that we didn't do anything. And I used to say, the guy that I had working for me, like casually at the time, I always used to say, get before and afters. He forgot to get any befores, but he did get one after. And I was like, oh, we're what we're going to do. They're complaining about this. They want their money back. But they sent me 122 photos of their garden. And that was all. They'd taken a load of befores conveniently. And they were like, you've done nothing, and sent me a load of... No, sorry, got it wrong way around. He took one before photo and nothing else. And I was like, oh my God, we're buggered. They sent me 120 something photos afterwards of like around the garden and was like, you've done nothing. And I could send them the before photo and was like, you can literally see all of these weeds, these beds overgrown, the patio covered in debris and weeds and stuff. And they were like, nope. So they complained and stuff. They left me loads of 1-star reviews on Facebook. They made fake accounts, left 1-star reviews on Facebook. They then started screenshotting my company, posting in all of the local groups, like watch out for these scammers ripping off old ladies and stuff. And that was a freaking stressful time. And they then started, I was in BNI at this time as well. They then got hold of, like, looked at where I was networking, started ringing those organizations up to be like, you've got a scam artist. So then I got pulled into a meeting from BNI, like the people running it, and was like, so we've had these competitors coming forward, what's going on? Like, we need to understand what's going on. Ended up in an 1.5-hour meeting with them. Luckily, they knew me very well and trusted me. And so a lot of the advice I got from business owners around me was just pay them off, just get rid of it.
Yes.
And I actually went to pay them off, and it just didn't transpire that way. I was meant to meet them in a Sainsbury's car park to give them the cash. And they just didn't, between like the family, they just didn't arrange someone to meet me. And I was like, sod it, I'll see you in court. And then went to court and won. And there's a lot of details in that story. And then the second one was just an old accountant of mine. They suddenly sprung a bill on me for like $5,000, and my company turnover was 50. So 10% of the company's revenue in 1 year. And there was a lot of things where they didn't charge for what they said. Like, I paid for like some zero training, had that, and then the person that ran it was like, yeah, if you've got any questions, just ping me an email, drop me a call, happy to help. So sure enough, I'd have the odd question here and there. Email, phone them up. And they're like, yeah, no worries. Any other questions you got, just let me know. And sometimes they would just be like, oh, yep, here's the answer. Other times they'd be like, oh, let me go away and research that and come back to you. I'm not sure. And then it was 6 months later, I just got this bill, and they'd been charging me for everything the whole time and never told me. And there was other things like they'd submitted my VAT return, because at this point the company revenue was like 50 grand a year and then had grown very fast. And then we'd become VAT registered. And they was like, oh, yeah, I'm just going to submit your VAT return for you. And I was like, are you going to charge me to do that? And they were like, yeah. And I'm like, and it's just go on Xero, click the button, submit. And they were like, yeah. And I was like, do not do that. I'm going to do it because I don't want to pay for it. And then on the phone call, I was like, oh, I've done it for you, but don't worry about it. We've done it for you. And then that was billed to me as well. And so I went through it and was like, look, 2.5 grand, I accept. I'll give you 2.5 grand, but like 2,700, there's just no way I'm paying that. You didn't communicate that to me. And there was so much back and forth. They took me to court and I won. And then I ended up befriending one of the barristers because if you ever go to court, you just have to show up at like 9 o'clock and wait for your case to go in. And ended up sitting opposite this barrister, and then got her whole life story of how she like grew up on a council estate and funded her education and then become a barrister. And went into the courtroom. They didn't show up because they couldn't get childcare that day or something. One thing as well, people don't often show up to court. So if you show up, your chances of winning are quite high. They didn't show up, went through the case details, and the judge was like, well, they haven't even bothered to show up. They've appealed to say they want to delay it. Well, they had their chance. I walked out.
Wow.
And went and spoke to the barrister. I was like, I won. And she was like, oh, did you get any compensation? I was like, huh? She was like, oh, because you've travelled here today and you're not working, you can get compensation back. And I was like, oh. So I went and knocked on her door and was like, Mr. Judge, compensation? And he was like, oh, I'm sorry. Yep. Back on the stand, which is very anxiety provoking to stand on the stand. But yeah, stood there and he's like, what costs have you incurred and stuff? And it was basically my train fare, but the buggers never paid me for the train fare. They were like, no, we're going to appeal this. We're going back to court. We'll see you there. That was like 2 years ago, 3 years ago. I don't know. It was probably 4 years ago. I don't even know. Time flies. So there's a couple court cases. I've got like 2 more like people I've got to take to court. So yeah, fun times.
Fun times, Aidan, but you seem to get in people's heads and win your way out. But no, that's mental. I've not heard of things like that, but fair play, mate. Light-hearted, and obviously, hopefully, mate, touch wood for you, man. You don't get many other court cases going on, but this is part of it, though. Listen, I spoke with a guy. His episode's not out yet, but he had to liquidate his business a couple of times. He went bankrupt and stuff like that, and he had to file for bankruptcy, and now he's got a fantastic business. So it's nothing to be. Yeah, it's not an. People go, oh god, I don't, but it can happen to anybody. So.
That's one thing I think. If you go through all of those times So like going to court, for example, is very stressful and everything. But even if, because this was something I would say, like even if the other person won, is I will still win in the long term if I learn so much from this. So like with the accountancy thing, if they were like, no, you've got to pay them the 2,700, whatever, even if that happened, I'm pretty certain that I would still learn more from it than they ever would. So then I would win in the long run anyway. And if you, whatever circumstance you're going through, like you'll probably agree with this. I feel like every business owner would, and even like every single human would.
Yeah.
All of the toughest times you've gone in through life, you learn the most from. Like if business,
Massive.
yeah. If I started Pink Panda, had this business model idea, went to a bunch of prospects, had a conversation, and they just kind of went, yep, and then just started becoming customers. Really nice, make money, but you're never gonna like develop that grit and resilience that you get from real tough times. And honestly, like the business is like what Pink Panda offers is so much more valuable and better, and will become even better as a result of everything going wrong. And it's have you heard of Mo Gaudat?
I have heard of the name though. I don't know what it means though. Like, yeah, I've just heard it.
The name, the guy, Mo Gaudat. He's an Egyptian entrepreneur. He worked at Google and headed their like innovation.
Right. Yeah, I've heard the name. Yeah.
Yeah, he's got a podcast and a couple books that are really good. But I think he ran an experiment, or he refers to an experiment of a number of people. I can't remember what the pool size was, but they interviewed people and asked them about the biggest trauma they'd ever experienced in life, and was asked the question: if you could go back and not have to go through it, but you lose all of the lessons that you've learned as a result, would you go back and not live that trauma? Every single one of them said they would still live it.
Yeah, yeah.
And Mo Gaudat's own one was losing his son. His son died as a child. So he lost his son because of some standard procedure just went wrong. When they say, oh, there's a 1 in a million chance that something goes wrong on the table, his son was the 1 in a million. But he still stands by his son. He's more like my son would still want to die because of what's come as a result of it. So interesting. Trauma. So I always look at it as trauma's good for me. So like any bad thing I go through, I'm like
pain. Yeah.
Like getting life lessons early, and I'm getting like it's basically just like you're on a crash course.
Yeah. It's honestly, well, yeah, literally, it's a great way of looking at it. So obviously we went off on one there from the master in your life, mate. I love that though. No, don't apologize. But just finally, because obviously we're concluding this up. If people want to, I think they should anyway, definitely based on just what you're building, where you're going. To connect with you or find you or even initiate a conversation, Hayden, where can people find you?
On LinkedIn. I'm just always on LinkedIn. Go on LinkedIn. The Hayden Bloomfield, the 100-year goal, and that's me. That's me on LinkedIn.
Awesome, mate. Awesome. Well, that'll go in the show notes anyway, so it's clickable. But yeah, thank you very, very much for spending this time with us. It's been honestly a very, very back in and out episode, but there's been so much to take away. So thank you for sharing your wisdom.
Thank you. Oh, actually, if you're going to put stuff in the show notes, can I ask one favor of your audience?
Go for it.
So we've got, actually, I don't know when this will come out, but one of my guys and me started a YouTube channel. We've got, today of recording this, we've got one video on there that's about turning LinkedIn into a sales machine for your business. And if you're happy to link the channel or one of the videos, is anyone that wants to watch it, pick a video, just tell me, like if you want to reach out on LinkedIn, I'll leave in the comments below. Tell me what sucks about the video. Tell me when you get bored and why you get bored of watching it. And we'll just make a better video next time.
Ooh. Okay, mate. This will come out in the next three months. Anyway, that's for sure.
We'll have a few videos.
Yeah, you'll have a few videos. Yeah. So
might have one subscriber as well. Who knows?
I'm sure you'll have a couple, mate. But yeah, we'll put that in there. And then, if you guys are happy who's listening or watching this to share and help Hayden's team out, that would be amazing. Thank you, mate. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you. Thanks, Luke. Thanks, audience.